I think the G7, I would like to make a moral case to the G7 that our limited supply of vaccines on the continent is definitely a serious health burden for us, a serious economic burden for us. But perhaps it is a greater moral burden for those who are sitting on excess doses of vaccines because they absolutely want to be on the right side of history. And so my number one ask for them would be distribute those doses that you are sitting on now so that history can record it properly, that you did the right thing at the right time. My second request and last would be that let's get out of this crisis looking better than we went into it, that work with Africa to expand vaccine diagnostics and therapeutic manufacturing capacity. If you do that, it is for the collective interest of the world's health security and not just for Africa, because as we know, we've always said since the beginning of this crisis that we are no one is safe until everybody is safe. We see how these variants are emerging, and we just don't know what the impact will be on vaccines, especially long term. So by distributing the vaccination architecture and design on the different continents, we minimize the risk of what we are going through today, which is creating greater inequities there. We should never allow scarcity be the enemy of inequities with respect to these health security commodities. I think those will be my two requests for the head of states or the leaders of the G7 and our own leaders who will be traveling there. I have no doubt, and I've not cross-checked this with President Ramaphosa because he's the COVID champion for the African Union. But I have no doubt that he's going to echo justice because he's extremely passionate with this topic. There are two things there for him to show. The fact that he set up the AVAC, the African Vaccine Acquisition Task Team, when he was chair. The fact that South Africa and India have pushed aggressively for the waiver for the intellectual property speaks to the fact that he championed this cause from his heart. And I have no doubt that he will be expressing that freely and openly like he's done in the past during the G7 meeting. On the doses, there's clear evidence that administering even one dose begins to offer you protection. There is no doubt about that. I think we've seen this over and over, including in Israel, where they were one of the first countries to vaccinate quickly, where immediately after the first dose, you saw that the rates were decreasing. They still require for those vaccines that require 2 doses that you, after a period of delay, you take your second dose so that your immune system can be completely enhanced. But there's scientific evidence that even with 1 dose, you begin to have some protection from disease, developing disease, not necessarily from preventing you from getting an infection, but saying that even if you're infected, you will not develop severe illness and mortality, that is death, will be limited. So I think I encourage everybody to, if you have access to even your first dose of vaccine, just take it. And I mean, the best vaccine is the one that you can put on your arm.
Indeed. Thank you very much, John, for that. Let's move on to Claire Keaton, who is with the Sunday Times in South Africa. And she says, in South Africa, health workers are expressing more confidence about dealing with the 3rd wave infections now that many of them are vaccinated. Does the Africa CDC have any information about how health workers across the continent are responding to vaccination rollout in their countries?
Health workers overall have received vaccination appropriately. And again, unfortunately, our continent is not a country. I mean, I like to call it a country continent. And so what that means is that you see very diverse patterns. Some countries where health workers have actually been extremely supportive and engaging in the process. And of course, you have a few countries where health workers are taking a more skeptical approach. But what we are seeing from scientific studies is that vaccine hesitancy, regardless of which level of the community you are engaged, is not static. that people want to observe others vaccinate, and if they don't fall sick, it doesn't cause harm, they would naturally gravitate towards that. So I think when we vaccinate at speed and at scale, and people see, those who are skeptical see that vaccination is actually creating more good, there will be, I would like to predict that there will be a shift in that direction where many more people would like to get a vaccination, including healthcare workers.
Thank you very much. I don't see many other questions coming through, but I'm sure colleagues are still writing them down. So while we wait, Dr. John, there is this message that has come through today, and it says it's coming from the Ethiopian Ministry of Health that they will soon be adopting the African Union's trusted travel guidelines, and specifically that travelers exiting or entering through Ethiopia to all destinations shall, from the 7th of 2021, June 2021, be expected to present a digital negative COVID-19 certification at all ports of entry. And this is based on our trusted travel guidelines. Can you just confirm that and perhaps then explain how this digital document is going to work?
No, that is very good news from Ethiopia. Again, it shows the continuous leadership that Ethiopia has always exercised in this fight. If you recall, last year we launched the Trusted Travel platform, which is really an Africa CDC, African Union process, which is supported by the PANOBAO and ECONET. I mean, very strong colleagues behind that, Dr. Edem in Ghana, Mr. Strive Masiwa's group, at the kind of back engine supporting us there. What does it say? It says, we want to be sure that when you show up with a negative COVID test, it is actually coming from a trusted source. It's coming from a laboratory that has been vetted and is verified. I think that is, that verification means these laboratories, we've captured them into the platform, and you can actually get that code and you can easily scan it and know that where the test came from, and you can match that, the results you see right there at the airport with the lab that it came from. So it will minimize the negative impact of people trying to tamper with the test results. I think that is extremely a positive development. Ethiopia is not the only one that has done that. I think Kenya and other sites of Rwanda have all engaged in that process. And as we speak, we continue to engage with major airlines and hubs across Africa. So it's a very good thing. That the beauty of this is that this is all homegrown technology developed by the PANOBAO group in Ghana, which is driven by the Afro champions, which we work together all the time. And then, of course, with ECONET, it shows that we can actually produce technology in Africa that will help solve our own problem. That is solving our problems using our own methodology and approaches. I'm very encouraged to see that Ethiopia is joining. Ethiopia is a hub, major hub on the continent. So by Ethiopia Airlines joining this, I think it's a good sign that the whole program will take off significantly in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much. It is very encouraging to see that the public-private partnership is working for the people of Africa. So thank you very much. Perhaps now we can go into your concluding remarks, highlighting the main issues that you want people to take away from this briefing today.
Thank you, Win. And my main message today is really continue to engage with community to make sure that we assure the communities that vaccines are safe, and that we collectively fight against any vaccine hesitancy. The only way out of this crisis is to vaccinate our people at speed and at scale, and make sure that we also apply the principles of fairness, not just across the developed world and developing world, but also within countries in Africa, to make sure that the fairness applies across the board. I think the whole principle of fairness, which we had a meeting in December only to discuss the approach of what do we mean by fair allocation of vaccines. So I think that is key. I mean, and it requires that we all work together in this space. Africa CDC would not succeed alone. We need the voices of politicians. We need the voices of the big voices of the media, all of you here, to join forces in that. My prediction is that in the coming months, when our vaccines through AVAC begin to roll out from the beginning of August, we will need to work with you more for vaccine uptake. But the time to do that is now, to prepare the population is now, where we engage with the population, clarify as much as possible, and demonstrate that those who have been vaccinated so far have not fallen ill. I think that is it's a continuous battle we have to engage. We cannot let misinformation and disinformation derail our vaccination program on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. That was Dr. John Nkengasong, the director of the African Union's Africa CDC, just taking us through the situation of COVID-19 on the continent and also answering to quite a lot of the questions that have come from colleagues from the media.